It's everybody.
Rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Thank you.
Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us.
Thank you.
Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won.
Thank you so much. It's Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night. Time for us to move forward. Move forward. Talking about freedom, debt freedom, financial independence. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share your evening with you. I'm going to allow, we have Michael Robinson, we have Jenny Jones in the studio. Thank you to those of you who are in the outside, and I can see your numbers, but I can't see your name until you say hi. So make sure you say a chat. Oh, at Afro Economics with JP Bryan. Hey, all of you, thank you. Thank you to your support. We have over 10,000 people enjoying that throughout the week. And thank you for finding your way to this Wednesday night. Please subscribe to YouTube. This is where I keep the archive of the recordings. So please subscribe. Please share with your friends. How are you, Mr. Wynn? Share, Brenda. Please turn on your video. I want to really develop a discussion. Miss Charles, you should be in the studio with Brenda and Jenny and Mike. Jenny, Brenda, I just need you to turn on your video so we'll be ready to go because I have some things I really want us to talk about. Good evening, family. Back to you, Michael. I appreciate that. Those of you who don't know, Michael Robinson is my husband, and he is the wind beneath my wings. Thank you for allowing me to fly. I Let's talk about today's discussion. When I sent out the invitations, I had the title as Live and Die Debt Free. Does debt freedom really matter? Is it possible to actually live debt free in America? And then financial independence versus debt freedom. No, is it actually possible to die and still owe people? What do you think? Is it actually I think that a lot of people assume that when they die, their debts are just dissolved, like they no longer exist. They don't have to pay their bills anymore. But that's not true. And it is surprisingly, but you need to, in our family financial planning process, that's the things that we go over, especially when you have a family membership, on how are those debts going to be paid? How are you going to cover the debts that you develop together if one of you who has responsibility for paying that bill is gone? And I've known people who have made major purchases together, and they assume that because they get married that everything is automatically shifted. I've seen people get married, acquire debts together and never update their beneficiary form. That's a big one, Mr. Wynn. They never. Queen Howard, how you doing? They don't update, so now they have these debts together. So one situation, they bought the home with the new wife, but the life insurance beneficiary was never changed from the old wife. So the person died, and now the new wife has to figure out how to pay all of that debt by herself. And because if you want to stay in that house, that mortgage has to be paid. And sometimes you want to use a life insurance. So I think that some too often debt has become a lifestyle for the American way. And I'm going to bring you in, Jenny and Brenda as well. Like Brenda's with us, but I don't know. Brenda, give me a chat if the video won't come on. But if you I think I can definitely hear you if you have a comment to make. But I want us to did and this might be a tender topic for when if I ask about like after death, but Jenny, did you realize that when your husband passed that you discovered a lot of things that you just had certain assumptions, and then upon your losing your husband that you realize that I think that a lot of couples get surprised on the laws and how things are handled upon death. I'm sorry, I know I won't let you have to allow me. I have to allow you. Brenda said I have to allow her to do something. I don't know. But I'm allowing you to do everything. Look, to the computer. Brenda is allowed to do anything she wants to do. And Jenny has no volume. Don't you just love technology? But the type it to me and I will share it. If you type it, Jenny, I will share it. I will definitely share it. I forgot. And look, Jenny's like, if I talk louder, maybe they'll hear me. But it's not you. So let's go. Let's move
We gotta
forward.
go over there and get her computer straight.
We're gonna go over there and get a computer straight. It's holding her back because she got something she wants to save. She wants to save the world right now. So
Hmm.
because there's nothing like real life when someone really tells you real experiences. I can express like hypothetical. I can tell you about scenarios that I have worked and helped people through, but there's nothing like the story that I know Jenny has to share. So I want to talk about this. First, I just want to have that point there is that do you know what debts you have? And do you know what will happen with those debts if you die or if your cosigner dies? Do you know the answer to that? We can look at those things together, but you need to know that answer. So let's look at debt freedom versus financial independence. And I don't know, Mr. Robinson, would you think that the average person thinks that debt freedom and financial independence are the same thing?
Mm, yeah.
You know what I mean? The average person, they go like, yeah, if I
Well,
have any debt, they think they are financially independent, right? They're like, they got it made because they have no debt,
yeah, yeah. Pretty much, like they put a large emphasis on
no
uh
debt, no debt,
yeah,
yeah,
to help their credit out. I guess
or
they
have
kind of
no debt. Because the only reason you need credit is to do what?
to make purchases
To get debt.
to
It's just
get
to get
that. Oh, okay.
that's how you go.
You go ahead.
But really, that's we said that's the only like we really don't need a credit score unless you're planning on getting in debt.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
what like really amazes me with people. It's like you really don't have, they go, I got to, especially like right out of college, right out of high school, right? It's like, oh, we got to develop the credit score. We got to get that credit score. I don't know what's up with Brenda, because Brenda definitely, she's in real estate. So Brenda, you should have your video on. Brenda needs to log out and log back in because this is a really
I'm
good.
on my cell phone. Is that
Oh my
better?
God, it is perfect, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, indeed, you are all the way live. But we're talking about, most people think that debt freedom and financial independence are the same thing. Don't you think they think that? Like, and Michael was saying, well, yeah, because they feel like if they have debt
No,
freedom,
I can't
then their,
hear.
then their credit is good. But I'm like, but if your credit is good, like, that we only you don't need credit if you have money. You don't need it. Like, so you'll see a lot of people who have the most money actually may not have the highest credit score. Isn't that amazing? Because the only way to get like a 850 credit score is you have to do what?
That's some debt.
Have a lot of debt. You got to have a lot of debt for a long period of time. So you have to have every different kind of debt. You got to have credit card debt. They would love for you to have school loan debt. They would love for you to have mortgage debt. They would love for you to have a car loan debt. Like, and I think sometimes people think that a great credit score means that you don't have credit, but that's not it. The system is built for you to be in debt. So when I went online and I said, I'm going to Google, what debt freedom means. So the first thing that comes up, debt free, when I looked up debt free, was bombarded by financial companies. And the emphasis of the financial companies, the loan companies and everything, was that you can be debt free without having no debt. Isn't that something? They were like, you don't have to have no debt in order to be debt free. And I'm like, I can't believe that they're saying this. So let me tell you what it said. It said debt freedom is is debt freedom, but it does not mean that you are financially independent. Oh, that was my notes. Okay. So if you Google the meaning of debt free, what comes up is being debt free to start with means having minimal to no bad debts and average good debts. Being debt free doesn't mean you have no mortgage, bills, or car payment. It means you carry a manageable amount of debt and are cognizant of your borrowing and your debt to income ratio. That is the most ridiculous definition of debt freedom I've ever heard in my life. But if I were in business of doing loans, I would make it the same way. You feel me on that? Because if they said with debt freedom and people want to be debt free and you do loans, you are not going to tell people don't get a loan. So they said, no, you can be debt free. How can I be debt free when I'm indebted to you? I got to pay it back. And if we get it together, you got to both pay it back. Mm, mm, mm. But that's interesting. I gotta take down my logo for a second so that I can see the top. Is that after I got my high school diploma, I got credit cards in the mail. Ain't that something? That's amazing. Because we're really not.
Hmm.
Do you think that it is possible? And either Michael or Jenny, you answer this because you lived a little bit longer than Michael. Do you think it's possible for an American to live with never having any debt?
No. I mean, you're gonna have your minor things like your everyday expense. But you can if you really want to. You don't have to have a car note. You don't have to have a mortgage. There are things that you can do. Yes, I think you can.
but you just have to like really know that you're being strange because
Absolutely.
it's different. It's different. Yeah, everybody's gonna say, now you know you don't have to drive that car because you're gonna buy a car that you can pay for straight up. You're not gonna find it.
Absolutely.
They're gonna be like, girl, you know you can go on that trip. You know what I'm saying? Or your aunt might die. People buy expensive airplane tickets to go on trip. You know, they go in debt because someone dies. If they don't want to have debt, they have to say, I'm sorry, auntie died, but I can't go. That takes a lot. It could be their mama and they don't have an emergency fund. So they have to go in debt for it because their mom. Wow,
Yeah.
that's hard. That's hard. But our community is a lot less likely to have an emergency fund. No, and overall, all Americans don't have, a lot of liquid cash. That's why when the pandemic hit, they had to start sending out those checks, to get to make sure so people could have a little bit of extra money there. But think about how many people really needed more Queen Howard, right? That $1,200 was not enough for them. And then I think about so many people that I know that the 1,200, really wasn't needed to them. But did they do the right thing? The people who got it and were making the same money, working the same job, what did you do with that money? They say that now people have more debt than ever before in history. In history, in the middle of a pandemic, there's more consumer debt than ever in history. So that I mean, this is it possible to live debt free? Yes, it is. But we have to know that it takes a seriously strong person in order to do that. And you have to go against this little push that you can't, that you can be debt free, but you can still have debt, but you can be debt free. Now, even if a client has assets that put them into a position to pay it off, like let's just say person has a $500,000 in their investment account, but it's an IRA, and their house loan on their house is 200,000, but they have 500,000 here invested. They will have to take out about 400,000 in order to clear after taxes enough to pay off that house. So that's a situation where, yes, the person is financially independent, meaning they could pay off the debt if they had to, but it would rock their financial world in order to do it. In order to do it. So financial independence, you can be financially independent and still have debt, but you can be debt free and not be financially independent. Because just because you're debt free doesn't mean that you have enough income to make it through the next month. So that debt financial independence means you have assets that are paying you enough that you can take care of all your bills without going to work. Without going to work. So if a person is on Social Security and they get $2,000 a month from Social Security and their monthly bills are $1,000, you could say they're financially independent. But what if they go out there and they get a whole bunch of credit cards or they get, other big payments? It can really
Right.
mess them up. It can really mess them up. And that's a lot of seniors are getting credit cards, and so they have a large amount of debt. At the same time, one Wednesday night we looked at where the seniors in their 80s have mortgage balances. So, and what did they do this past year? Most of them probably refinanced because somebody told them you should refinance. So then they have this big mortgage balance. They're in their 80s, and then if they pass when they because everybody's going to die. So when they pass, they're passing on a debt to their family, and
Mm.
then the family will actually start getting into discussions about who's going to get the house when they should be saying who can pay the bill, who can pay this bill, because the death does not increase the value of the house unless they have like some sort of insurance connected to it. That they may have mortgage insurance that will pay off the mortgage, but they may not. Quentin says, is it because the government is in more debt than ever, like a trickle down effect of debt from the government to the American people? No, but it might be a monkey see, monkey do type thing, but the government is in debt because it's trying to keep the economy afloat. Even though we think that we are in capitalistic economy, we're not in its truest sense, because a lot of our business economy is supported by government action. The government has protected the stock market in a big ways. It has kept businesses so that they can keep people paid. I mean, like, look at this PPP. Those things take a lot of money. They're making sure they even included nonprofits that don't even pay, taxes to the government, that they are paying nonprofits. So they're paying corporations and nonprofits as long as it's used for payroll. That the government, so the government is like flipping the bill for a lot of stuff that they really can't, afford. Now they have to figure out how to get it back, and a lot of people are doing the same thing. And there's a lot of companies that are pushing debt, and then the prices of things, like, just as Michael mentioned on one of the Wednesday nights about people buying real estate that costs more than ever. So there's a large percentage of
Mm.
this increase in consumer debt has come from these home purchases on these inflated prices. Mm. Definitely. Queen Howard said, is being in debt a learned behavior? The psychologists do connect it to your behavior big time. Remember that we had that discussion one Wednesday night about behavioral finance. It is studied big time. Financial habits are inherited. It's the research is showing it. You know, um, it is definitely no, like the fact that we are taught that you're not successful unless you come out of school, get a car payment, and go get a house payment. So the child can go get a house payment and a car payment, and they're seen as successful. So, and that's a lot of that is because the family hasn't saved enough to give the child a nice down payment. So we end up paying, more and not having a down payment. And so our mortgage payments tend to be higher, and the interest rates tend to be higher because we're not putting down the down payments that other communities have more assets available. So as one lady said today, she said, well, Black people kick their kids out of the house. And I said, I haven't found that to be true. And research says that Black people do a lot for their kids, to the extent that we even do for grandchildren. And it's hurting the financial ability of grandparents. So we do help. We just don't have enough assets in order to really help give the kids the start that they need. So a lot of times the kids have to get out because sometimes they don't want to help the parents as much as the parent needs help from the child. Too
Mm.
often, they'd rather pay somebody else rent than to help their mother or father or their parents pay their mortgage or rent. but teamwork makes the dream work. So then you have all of this each all these different family members paying mortgages within 10-mile radius of each other. All of them going in debt, all of them paying interest, and all of them getting together on Thanksgiving in only one place. So we have to like start, yes, yes, Queen Howard, that debt is learned behavior. Teamwork is learned behavior. We have a lot of individualism going on now and not enough family behavior going on. And we're going to, in order to survive this next part of COVID, we need to unite on changing our behavior. And I wanted to like share um, a couple of key points. I also wanted to share debt to income because when use words, there's no power in me using these words. I want to make sure that I share with you what it means so that you will be empowered. So look at this debt to income. Now, the interesting thing when you look it up, it gave me that in the mortgage industry, like a lot of these financial terms, like with the debt freedom, they're giving you definitions based on from financial companies. I mean, seriously, and then the debt to income based on what the mortgage industry says. Debt to income ratio according to the mortgage industry, is the percentage of a consumer's monthly gross income that goes towards paying debts. So the lower your debts are as a percentage of your income. So if you're spending 90% of your income on debts, you're seen as a very high risk. And then
Mm,
they'll break it down to how much of your income has to go towards paying that mortgage. And they want that to be below 30%. And the higher you go, the higher the interest rate is that you have to pay. So you're paying for this this um the having taking on more risk in so many ways. Because then you have the mortgage company itself, because your down payment isn't big enough, they charge you the mortgage insurance. And then you have the mortgage company itself charging you because you have more debt. And so you didn't have enough money saved. So your car payment is big and it's increasing your debt to income ratio. You know,
mm.
and then work 30 years, and you're paying it, get to well, let's say the 20th year, you get to the 20th year, and then all of a sudden you want to, refinance in the 20th year and you start all over again. Oh my.
It never ends.
And then you're 80 and that 85, 90, 95, and still have the mortgage. You got to break down the numbers and say, I put everything into this. I fixed the roof. I changed the toilets. I changed the machines. I changed the so and so. And there was only one person in this 4-bedroom house sitting here, and I put all of this money in there, and I can't even, whatever it is they want to do. And they can't. And then if they want to, eventually they have to figure out you're gonna have to sell it in many cases because it becomes unaffordable to keep it up.
Mm,
Yes, indeed. I just bring this to add me and the I see you, but it's just that the video is not on. It's saying that you don't have your camera on, but I got you and you're in there.
mm,
And the so let's look the so the financial independence, so that we have that into this file. Financial independence is the status of having enough income to pay for your living expenses for the rest of your life without having to be employed or dependent on someone else. That's financial independence. And it doesn't matter what age you are. My goal in Afroeconomics is for us to reach that. That it's like you're working, but you don't have to work. So that requires, in order to be financially independent, I believe there's some choices that we have to make. And one my first point is that you have to ask yourself, do you have a deserve mentality? Like I told you the story about going back to a class reunion and someone pulled up and it was like, I don't know, it was a college reunion, and the brother pulled up and I think it was like a Bentley or something like that. It was like extreme. It was way over there. And he said, I deserve this. I deserve this. And I was like, you deserve way more than that. You ain't deserve more. We talking about deserve? We all deserve like way more than we could possibly ever drive. You know what I mean? When it gets to deserve, we're like this, right? We deserve like airplane. Money can't buy everything that we deserve. So our deserve, I believe, has to go off the materialism list and over to spiritual, satisfaction and peace and joy, priceless stuff. Mm, mm, mm. The that the Queen Howard was asking before I go into the deserve mentality, and these are one number. That's the number one thing I want us to think about because the deserve mentality will make you broke. So Queen Howard says, "Are the housing programs helpful when buying a house?" I believe that they are, but you have to be careful if the housing program is sponsored by a lender. If the housing program is sponsored by a lender, then their point is to make sure you get the maximum loan. So a lot of the programs, one program that I used to volunteer for, they didn't care like if you really put down a right down payment. They was like $1,000. All you had to have was $1,000 and they'll put you in a house. And I was like, but do you really? Yeah. And that's
For
still
real?
today. That still exists today. $1,000. Like, so you get if you get the $1,000 loan, then you paying for the mortgage insurance because you're a high risk and you're paying. So what happens is the foreclosure rate on these people with these low down payments is so high, but they just want to get that loan done. That's what they do. That's the business that they're in. Everybody wins. Everybody wins except for the person taking out the loan.
Right.
Because in many situations, if you're not financially healthy, then all of a sudden your water heater breaks. Then you can't participate in saving any dime for your future at all, and all your money has to go towards paying that mortgage payment. So everything is going in there. So it's you have to be very, very careful with these programs and make sure you look at what is this all for. And I believe that Afro economics program is a better overall financial program for a person who wants to be financially independent because I'm preparing you for financial success. I'm preparing you for the fact that your house really has very little tax advantage. And there's a lot of stuff that we could do to give you a tax advantage that exceed that for a house. But we've always told that the only way to get the tax write off, I know, I know Miss Massenberg's like, I want to punch her in the head because she's in real estate. Like, I wish your, I wish your cameras were. I know that there's a space for that, and I want you to have a good agent like Brenda. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are doing the wrong thing, and buying the house is making them broke because they're not ready. And I believe that because I'm a financial advisor and I'm a registered investment advisor, everything I have to do is in your best interest. So when I ask you, which I ask before I give my opinion, Do you want my opinion? I'm going to give what's in your best interest. But you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready. Because a lot of people don't really care what's in their best interest. They just want to do what they want to do.
Mm,
They just want to do what feels
I
good at
get
that,
it.
you know? Exactly, Miss Davis. We owe it to our next generation to change the narrative. I owe it to them. I owe it to them to not make it so simple that these are the things you do because that's how we always did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we don't have to do it just because that's the way we've always done it. What has that done for us? What has that done? We have to do more. We have to do things differently. Maybe it's time for us to have a generation that moves towards getting in business, focusing on building wealth through businesses, building wealth through investments in stock market, building wealth through, that in reasonable homes with very small mortgages. You know what I'm saying? That and consolidating and think that I don't know, but we need to think more and stop just repeating the same thing. Everything it doesn't apply. There's somebody out there with 5 kids, and the only affordable housing for them is for them to get a house. And there's somebody out there with 1 kid. The smartest thing that they can do is get a really small house, even maybe even consider renting. You know, and that renting is not throwing away money. It's what you do with the rest of your money that matters. You can rent because it's less expensive and you don't want the maintenance and save money and invest more and get your company match and do things or build your own business. There's so many other options. Mm, mm, mm. There's so many more. Debt does not have to be our only way. Debt doesn't have to be our only way. So that point was that deserve mentality, a new luxury car, the biggest house on the block, the most upgrades, the most fabulous vacation. That you deserve it. Of course we deserve it. You know, but when you have that deserve mentality, you're not going to be debt free. It's going to work counterintuitive to a goal of being debt free because having all of that debt can limit your financial options down the road. It might feel good today, but down the road, it could cost you that
Mm,
deserve mentality. Now you finance something because you need it, like an education, or you need a place to live, and you get this reasonable place to live, and you got to have that because your family has to have a place to live. That's different. But the deserve mentality, yes, indeed, we deserve more than the things that we desire. Facts, amen. That's as the less. Thank you. So our second point is and we're talking about this financial independence. So we're moving towards financial independence. We're moving away from the deserve mentality, and we're also a movement towards financial independence. Is Are you patient? Are you patient? Do you believe in delayed gratification?
mm,
Many people with financial challenges are impatient. Impatience has cost so many people. I've seen it. I've seen it, Ms. Walton. I've seen it. Like, they'll be like, I gotta do it and I gotta do it now, or I gotta retire now, or I gotta get the house now. I got to, to say deal. You can still write off, Star said home loans are no longer help with tax fraud. For many, many, many people, no, because the standard deduction has increased so much. If you're paying a lot of interest on your mortgage, yeah, maybe it can help you. But for the overwhelming majority of Americans, including homeowners, they're taking the standard deduction. So they're not writing off they would be in the same tax situation with that interest or not. So the debt, there's better ways. The to there's I I think that when someone says to a person, buy a house because of the tax savings, I think they're not in tune with the tax laws. Because there's much better ways to reduce your taxable income, and I can help you with that.
Mm.
So he said a lot of people are buying houses, still buying Nikes for the family, eating out, and on and on. So true, so true, Queen House. That's what the help of the credit card. That's what it's for, to keep it flowing. You get the house, you get the new house, then you need the new car, then you need the new clothes for your new car, then you need to do new things and new places and new stuff. It just goes on and on because that's the danger of the deserve mentality. Indeed. A third point is choose to say no. The I was I was talking to my trainer. I have a personal trainer at the gym, and she was like, "You shouldn't say like I don't eat this or I don't eat that. Like just say you don't. You choose not to do that. Like so when you're trying to decide like if you want to buy something or get that new something, but you have other financial goals. Say you chose, I guess, so we'll take that strategy into, our finances. I choose not to get that additional debt. I choose not to, worry about what other people think. It has to be a conscious choice in your financial decision making. Like people that are financially independent are disciplined enough to say no to anything that's not in their plan. Just say no. And the fourth point is materialism. The how you spend or make purchases. The avoid taking on new debt. We got commercials, we got everything, especially at this time of year, that is going to encourage you to take on new debt. But debt-free people are not interested in amassing new stuff. People are amazing. Like if you go to the mall, they just like are they're just amazed with stuff. I literally could go through the mall, Jenny, and not buy not one thing. Like
Oh,
just
I
go
do
through
it
the
all the
mall.
time. I do it all the time.
That's so good. That's so good. You have to just not feel that need to pick up something just because it's there or do that QVC order just because you saw that on television. You have to make that decision as far as for financial independence.
Right.
Because even if when you're financially independent, you've decided in many cases that I'm not going to work anymore. Many financially independent people are not working. They're retired or whatever so they have to make that decision. I'm not going to, go out there wasting extra money. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to, whatever it is. Exactly, Queen Howard. Like you had to make that conscious decision to say no and avoid taking on new debt. That fourth point of just avoiding materialism. Yes. And then our fifth point is impulsive spending. Impulsive spending leads to debt. People who live without debt, they thrive on delayed gratification. They go, I'll get that later. They'll wait and they'll save up. No, I was just talking to Michael about like next year. I was like, with your birthday next year, that it's time to go ahead and make reservations because if we wait, what happens? If you wait, they'll charge you more for everything. I was like, so we have to go ahead. Like you really have to if you are committed to financial independence, you have to be a planner who is just like, I will give this up now. Like, because a lot of people like, oh well, I'll just put it on the credit card or something like that. You know what I mean? We don't do that. And I don't believe that I could even enjoy a vacation on a credit card. Like, it's just because I would just be too worried. I mean, about, oh, we had to go into debt for this. I mean, how can you enjoy something like that? And I feel that everybody should have the pleasure of buying a car, of just buying what they want.
Hmm.
I mean, because I mean, it took way too many years for me to realize that the payment is just not the answer. We should just save up when we have the money, buy the vehicle that you can afford. Not necessarily even what you really want, but the vehicle that you can afford that satisfies that particular need. Because once you start doing lump sums, you don't want to spend all your money. Like, you'll look at a car different. You'll look at it different. Like, when you start looking at payments, you'll buy the ridiculous car. But when you start looking at lump sums, you go, oh no, I'm buying this reasonable car. And you do. And I remember buying my vehicle, standing across the street, looking at the Benz dealership and saying, you got me last time. You got me three times. You ain't giving me no more. Like, and you just, I think that there's a certain, which is like one of my final points, it's just about a confidence in financial independence. There's a confidence that we deserve to have. Debt free, financially independent people have another level of confidence that too many people never get to live and enjoy, never get to live it. And avoid impulsive spending and think it through. If you want to do something nice, think it through, not an impulse. Don't do it. You know, a year from now, another birthday is coming. You know, a year from here, that so the people who plan ahead, what do? They get to pay half as much. And we like, well, I ain't got my money up yet. Well, you know what? You probably don't need to be doing it. You don't need to be doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? I ain't got that. You don't need to be doing it. Mm-mm. Live below your
It's,
means, right? Live below your means. Know your household budget. In order to live below your means and be financially and for the goal of financial independence, that you have to first know how much it costs to live like you, right? You have to know how much it is. You have to know, what does it cost? How much does it cost for me to live? Yeah, but we're not thinking about that. So you can't like, oh, I live below my means, but you don't even know how you living, like what your bills are, what your expenses are. And it, and my final point is that debt-free people really do not care what other people think. They're secure in the knowledge and the comfort and in the peace and knowing that they are doing the right thing for their family's future. And that's it. That's all we need to focus on is, am I doing what's best for my family over the long term? Yes, right, Queen Howard. She said, live below your means. Yes. But first you gotta know like what the means are, what you got, what you need to be paying, what you doing, where you going. And that's what I like with the Afro Economics membership, when you invest something into yourself, because if for nothing else, it gives us accountability. And I know I'm not supposed to talk like but once a quarter in our individual meetings, but you all know we talk like at least once a month. And it makes so much difference, not to mention the time that we spend together as a group every week. So But I think it makes you get in tune with what your means are. It makes you remember you're accountable to yourself. You're accountable to me. You're accountable to your family. It gives you a resource of where do I go to when things happen, like, and and what is frightening to me is when you all make moves and then you bring me in afterwards.
Mm,
I think you're doing me a disservice, and you know, you're not helping yourself.
yeah.
Because a key part is to avoid impulsive behavior. And if someone's coming in and they're trying to force you to do something, more likely than not, you're doing the wrong thing. Like in this situation, they're trying to act like, well, if you don't do this, if you don't buy this house right now, then you might lose this chance at this house. This house is so and so. You know what? You got to have enough faith and confidence to know, well, then let it be gone then. Then let it be gone then. We should not be that attached to any material item that if they cannot allow you to look out for your best interest and review the numbers and everything carefully with your financial advisor, you're doing the wrong thing. And
Mm.
I'm going to tell you, a lot of people are not going to want you to show me your info. They're not going to want you to cover it or share it with someone who has more licenses than they have or is regulated. In many cases, where you're discussing it with people who are not regulated on some financial move, and they want to push it because they know when I come and get involved, I'm going to say, what is this? It's not legit. It's not legit. So allow yourself to get the protection that you deserve by getting information. Then we get together and we review it. Not making decisions, doing stuff, and then telling me about it afterwards, because it's hard to get that money back. It's hard to get it back. Hmm. Well, great, Star, definitely. And always know that when you go to afroeconomics.org and you set up your individual or family or entrepreneurship membership, know that that is the easiest way to get to me. You will get on my calendar immediately at the and I'm about to stop by mid note December and focus on paperwork for the rest of the year, because the I have a lot of paperwork that has to be corrected to close out the year correctly. So, and then the I'll still be service, but as far as our new members, we'll stop mid December and then start again in January of next year, because I just want to make sure that I get everything right. And fortunately, I have an executive assistant now that's helping me get it all together. So
How
it's a
awesome.
amen, amen. It's not the it's not easy, but it must be done. And it's been a fantastic year. But we have to be careful on all that we do. Everything has to be done decent and in order. And the fifth principle of Afroeconomics is about organization and accountability. And I have to do that myself in the business as well. So a lot of next year, 2022, is about financial independence, which is the third principle of Afroeconomics. But I want us to start focusing on the principles of Afroeconomics and why I do the discussions that I do. And then, like, this the sixth principle is credit confidence, that we talked about a lot tonight. So everything that we discuss has a reason. Everything has a purpose, even
Mm.
to the ninth principle, which is determination. I'm determined to make your life better for me having been here. That's all. That's my main goal, to make sure that you advance from our time together. So this will be in the library at Afroeconomics with JB Bryan in the YouTube library. Please review, go over this again. Don't hesitate, go to afroeconomics.org, take action, set up your membership so that we can get rolling before the year ends, and we can get you on setting your goals. Because the first thing I do is I give you access to a financial planning portal. And it's about putting in your numbers. And everybody listening that's a member, I need you to go into your portal and the financial planning portal and let's update
Mhm.
stuff, at the end of the year. That's your goal. And we need to start setting up what do we want to make sure, what needs to be deleted, what goals have changed, what things have done. Some of you retired and you weren't even thinking about it. So you got that, but that's not the end of
Mhm.
life. We still got to make your money grow. You still have to, manage your life properly. Retirement is the beginning, right, Jenny?
That's right.
It's
That's right.
the beginning. It's like people think it's the end, but it's the beginning.
No, that's a whole new. Actually, it's a whole new chapter, really, of
Yeah.
your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. I'm just a call away and I'm here. Let me know if I can help. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael Robinson. I love you.
Love you too, baby.
Jenny Jones, I love you
Thank
too.
you. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Brenda. I know you couldn't get your camera up, but we appreciate you. And we're going to have a special so that you can get everybody excited about real estate because I gave real estate a little beat down, but it was just about being debt free. We love it too.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Uh,
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Queen Howard. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Davis. Accelerate. I saw what you said. Take me with you. I definitely am. We're accelerating. 2022. Let's do this. That's right. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let's march on, y'all. Let's march on. Yes. 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 Have a great night. Yes. Good night.